The biting wind of late November howled through the city's glass and steel canyons. Even the morning sun struggled to pierce the overcast skies, casting a pale grey light over the sidewalk. Commuters hustled past, coats clutched tightly to their bodies, focused on their destinations and digital screens. But amidst the hurry and cold indifference, one tiny figure stood still and silent. 7-year-old Emma stood on the corner outside Harper's Market, a bustling supermarket where business people and affluent shoppers flowed in and out with bags brimming with organic produce and gourmet goods. Her little fingers were red from cold, knuckles stiff, yet she kept them cupped around the tiny bundle of fur nestled inside a battered cardboard box. The box was barely held together with masking tape and had once carried bulk onions. Now it cradled something infinitely more precious. A puppy, small, white, trembling. Its big brown eyes mirrored the same innocence and confusion as the little girl who held it. His name was Pudding, a name Emma had chosen because he was soft and warm and made her smile when the world no longer did. Beside the box, a makeshift sign written in marker on a torn cereal box flap read, "Please buy our puppy, $10. We need help." People walked past with hurried steps and averted eyes. Some slowed to read the sign but quickened again when guilt began to rise. Others gave her awkward, pitiful glances, but no one stopped. No one truly saw her. Emma sniffed once, wiped her nose on her sleeve, and looked down at Pudding. "It's okay, boy," she whispered. "Someone will want you. You're a good puppy." She rocked slightly on her heels, trying to stay warm. Her socks didn't match. One was striped and threadbare, the other pink and stretched loose at the heel. Her jacket used to be her cousin's. It still had a name tag that read Maya, but Emma didn't mind. She liked pretending she had lots of names, like a secret agent. From behind her, the doors of the supermarket opened with a rush of warm air and holiday music. Shoppers emerged with bulging bags and steaming coffee cups. She looked up each time, hoping, but they all walked past. Then came the man. He wasn't like the others. His footsteps were confident, yet unhurried. His suit was black, expensive, tailored with quiet precision. A rich leather coat framed his tall figure, and designer shoes tapped against the concrete with weight and presence. In one hand he held a phone, the other a paper cup of espresso. He was on a call, something about numbers, deadlines, stock returns. But then he looked down and paused. His eyes met hers. Emma stood still. This man was different, important. Maybe he could help. Maybe, just maybe, this was the one. She took a breath and stepped forward. "Please buy our puppy," she whispered, barely above the sound of passing traffic. The man blinked. He had to look twice to realize a child had spoken. His phone conversation faltered. "I what?" he muttered. Emma pointed at Pudding. "He's a good boy," she said softly. "But we don't have money for his food, or ours, so we're selling him." The man stared at her, speechless, something twisted in his chest. There was something hauntingly familiar in her eyes, those deep brown eyes that were too serious for a child her age. Then, like a lightning strike, it hit him. 3 months ago, a woman, desperate, fired. Could it be? He crouched slightly, staring at the girl. The world around them grew quiet in his mind. He forgot his phone, his coffee, even his own name for a moment. "What's your name?" he asked gently. "Emma," she said, hugging the puppy protectively. "And this is Pudding." He swallowed hard. This little girl had no idea who he was. No idea that he, standing here in his $1,000 coat, was the reason she was on this cold street corner, whispering to strangers. No idea that he was the CEO who had fired her mother. And now she was offering him her last comfort, for $10. The weight of the puppy in his arms was featherlight, but for the man Ethan Hart, CEO of Lennox Technologies, it felt as heavy as the world. Pudding nestled quietly against his chest, the warmth of the pup completely at odds with the cold dread forming in his gut. He barely heard the street sounds anymore, the honking horns, the humming chatter of passers-by, the gentle whir of a street musician's accordion. All of it faded behind the sudden roar of guilt erupting in his head. He stared down at the girl, Emma, and her timid smile. It wasn't the face of a child begging. It was the face of someone doing what had to be done, someone trying to take care of someone else, just like her mother had. Her mother, Olivia Mays, she had sat across from him in a small glass-walled office just a few months ago. A single mom, 6 years in the marketing department, known for her meticulous work ethic and calm under pressure. But the company had needed cuts. The board had demanded numbers, not names, heads, not stories. He remembered how she hadn't cried until the end of their conversation. She had waited until the last moment, when he'd pushed the envelope with her severance across the table, and said, "I'm sorry, we had no choice." She had nodded, stood, and only then did her voice quiver. "Could I just stay through the holidays? I'll leave right after New Year's. Just let me keep my health insurance a little longer. Please." He'd said no. He'd told himself it wasn't personal, it was business. The company needed to survive. His job was to make hard decisions. He had told himself she'd bounce back. But now, her daughter was here, on the street, selling her puppy. Emma looked up at him, innocence still shining in her chilled face. "Do you like dogs, mister?" He blinked rapidly. "Ah, yeah, I used to have one." Emma smiled, hugging herself. "Pudding's really nice. He sleeps next to me at night, so I don't feel scared." A lump rose in his throat. "So I don't feel scared." He glanced down at the puppy in his arms. The little creature looked up at him with the same trusting gaze Emma had. His heart twisted. "Emma," he said quietly, kneeling again to her level, "where's your mom right now?" "At the place with food." "The line's long," she said. "She said I could come here and try to sell pudding 'cause people with money shop here." She looked away shyly. "But I didn't wanna. I cried this morning, but Mommy said, it's just what we have to do now." Ethan swallowed hard. He had spent the morning complaining to his assistant about his overbooked calendar. He was annoyed that his cappuccino had come with too much foam. He had parked his luxury SUV in a private lot just 2 blocks away. And here was a child, apologizing for crying because she had to sell her only comfort to strangers. Because of him. Emma leaned closer. "You can have him for $10, she whispered. "But if you want to give more, Mommy says that's okay too." He reached into his wallet with shaking fingers. Every polished bill suddenly felt dirty. He pulled out a crisp $100 bill and handed it to her. "I'll take care of pudding. And maybe I can help you and your mom too." Emma's eyes went wide. 100? She looked down at the bill like it was a treasure map. That's so much." He smiled gently. "You deserve more than that." She clutched the bill, her fingers trembling. "Thank you, mister." But he didn't feel like a good man. He felt like a man trying to undo a wrong far too late. Emma sat back down beside the cardboard box and tucked the money into her coat pocket carefully, like her mother had taught her. Big bills stay close to the heart, Olivia always said. Emma didn't know exactly why, but it made her feel safer. Ethan remained crouched, unsure what to do next. His mind was no longer calculating deals, deadlines, or board meetings. It was entirely occupied by one question: how could I have let this happen? "Do you like living in the shelter?" he asked softly. Emma looked thoughtful. "I liked our old place more. We had bunk beds, and Mommy let me pick stickers for the fridge. But it's okay at the shelter. It smells weird, but they give us cereal." Her voice didn't waver. She wasn't complaining, she was adapting. He watched her with awe and heartbreak. This little girl had more resilience than half the executives in his company. He gestured toward the box. "Can I sit for a bit?" She nodded, scooting over slightly. Together they sat in silence as people continued to walk by. Some glanced, some stared, some seemed surprised to see a man in a $1,000 coat crouched next to a child on the street. "Emma," he began again, "do you know where your mom used to work?" She nodded. "At an office with shiny glass. She wore heels and had a drawer full of jelly beans." He smiled despite himself. "Did she like her job?" "She said it made her feel important. Said one day I'd visit and sit at her desk. But then one day she came home and just cried. A lot. And then we had to sell stuff. Even my bike." His stomach turned. He had caused that. With one signature, one corporate decision, one cold meeting. He looked at her and felt something shift inside. "I want to help you and your mom," he said. Emma's eyes narrowed a little, her instincts sharp despite her age. Are you a good guy or a bad guy? Ethan chuckled, startled by the question. I think I'm trying to be better. She considered this. Then maybe you can talk to Mommy. She'll be back soon. He nodded. I'd like that. Then she added, softly, but don't make her cry again. Her words hit harder than any boardroom confrontation. He looked her in the eyes and made a quiet vow. I won't, I promise. She smiled. Okay. And so they sat. A man who had built his fortune on strategy and numbers, and a child who had taught him more about humanity in 10 minutes than a lifetime of wealth ever had. He didn't know it yet, but this was the moment his life began to change. The moment Olivia spotted Emma from across the sidewalk, she panicked. Her steps quickened instinctively, boots slapping against the concrete as she darted toward her daughter. From a distance, all she could see was a strange man in an expensive coat crouched beside her child. Every motherly instinct screamed at her. Emma, she called, her voice sharp with worry. Get away from him. Emma stood and turned immediately, holding something in her hand. It's okay, Mommy. He bought pudding, but Olivia wasn't reassured. Her eyes never left the man. Her hands curled into fists as she stormed forward, placing herself protectively in front of her daughter. I told you not to talk to strangers, she said breathlessly. Her voice cracked, not from exertion, but from fear and exhaustion. Emma, I told you. Then she saw him. The man stood slowly, their eyes met. For a few seconds, the chaos of the city dulled again. Olivia's breath caught in her throat. She took a slow step back, processing what she was seeing. You, she whispered. Ethan Hart. He nodded, guilt already written across his face like a confession. Olivia. Her hand instinctively reached for Emma's shoulder. What are you doing here? Why are you talking to my daughter? He raised his hand slightly in surrender. I didn't know at first, I just saw her. She asked me to buy the puppy. She what? Olivia glanced down at the box, at the puppy still sitting quietly inside. Her face crumbled. Emma, we needed money, Emma said innocently. He gave us $100, Mommy. We can get warm food today. Olivia swallowed hard, pulling her daughter into a gentle embrace. The weight of everything pressed down on her. The shelter, the job loss, the cold, and now this moment, so surreal and unfair. It was almost too much to bear. She turned back to Ethan, fire rising in her chest. You laid me off without warning. You wouldn't even let me stay through Christmas. You didn't care. Why are you here now? He lowered his head slightly. I was wrong. I knew it even then. But today, he looked over at Emma. Today I felt it. Olivia's jaw tightened. You think showing up here and handing over $100 fixes anything? No, he said quietly. Nothing can undo what I did. But maybe I can do something right now. There was a pause. Emma looked back and forth between them, her young face puzzled. Mommy, do you know him? Olivia didn't answer right away. Her eyes didn't leave Ethan's. I want to offer you your job back, he said. Better than before. Double pay, flexible hours. I'll make sure you and Emma have housing, health coverage, anything. Olivia's brow furrowed. Why now? Because I finally saw what I didn't before. Not on a spreadsheet, not in an earnings report, but out here, on the street, holding a puppy and whispering to strangers. His voice cracked. I didn't see you back then, Olivia. I just saw numbers. I'm sorry. She exhaled slowly, her arms still wrapped around Emma. And what about all the others you let go? You see them now too. I will, he promised. This changes today. Emma looked up at her mom. He's nice, Mommy, and he said we can keep pudding. Olivia knelt beside her daughter and touched her forehead gently. She looked at Ethan, searching his face not for perfection, but for sincerity. What do you think, Emma? She asked softly. Should Mommy work for him again? Emma gave a small nod, then turned to Ethan with a serious face. But no more making Mommy cry. Okay. Ethan bent slightly, hand over heart. I swear, never again. For the first time in months, Olivia allowed herself to hope. The apartment wasn't fancy, but it was warm. And for Olivia and Emma, warmth was everything. After accepting Ethan's offer, things moved quickly. Within 3 days, they were moved into corporate housing, temporary but clean, with working heat, running water, and a working kitchen. Olivia had been stunned when she opened the fridge and found it already stocked. There was even a sticky note on the milk. Emma's cereal top shelf. That morning, Olivia stood in front of a mirror, dressed in a crisp navy blouse and tailored pants. Her badge hung from her neck. It felt surreal. Just a week ago, she'd been sleeping in a shelter with Emma curled against her for warmth. Now she was preparing to walk into the same company that had once pushed her out, except this time, everything was different. Emma sat on the floor with Pudding, who now had his own bed, food bowl and an actual chew toy. The puppy barked with joy, as she tossed him a sock. "You're gonna be okay, buddy," she whispered. "We all are." Ethan had done more than rehire Olivia. He'd issued a personal memo to all department heads, effective immediately. The company was reviewing every layoff decision made during the budget cuts. A new family assistance fund was created. Staff with children were given child-care stipends. Former employees were contacted, many of them rehired. In private, Ethan began volunteering at the very shelter Olivia and Emma had once stayed in. He donated anonymously. When asked why he was there, he simply said, "I'm trying to learn what I didn't understand before." One morning, as Ethan entered the office elevator, he saw Olivia already inside. She looked confident, calm, but there was something different now, mutual respect in her eyes, instead of fear. "You doing okay?" he asked. She smiled. "Better than okay, thank you." He nodded, then glanced down at the small drawing pinned to her bag. It was a crayon picture, Emma's, clearly. It showed a little girl, a puppy, and a tall man in a long coat. Above it was a sentence in wobbly handwriting. "Thank you for buying Pudding." Ethan stared at it for a long time, something swelling in his chest. Not pride, not relief, redemption.